शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं नम ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनीति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य सतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna dear devotees, thank you for joining. Let me share my screen. So we have been reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29. We'll continue today from text 29 onwards, I think. Sorry, 32 onwards. And just a quick recap. So this chapter is where Narad Muni is summarizing the stories, the last 4 chapters story to Prachinvari. Prachinvari asked the questions that I could not understand the complete purport of your story. So could you please explain this? And then Narad Muni started explaining about the different characters in the allegorical stories, where he says the Puranjana is the living entity, the city is the 9 gates of city is the body itself, and then the Avigyat or unknown friend is the super soul, and then the 5 hooded serpents are life air, and so on, right? And then it also gives the analogy of chariot. Then also explains about who is Chandavega and how it's going through. Then yesterday we started discussing about Narad Muni explaining about how this jiva get entrapped in this cycle of birth and death, or he not even birth and death, he wander around different species, different planets, sometimes higher, sometimes lower. He's wandering like a dog, and that what the discussion was. So because of this, engagement of the living entity with the 3 modes, he doesn't find any way to escape, and he doesn't know the means or the way how can he escape, but he get trapped in this cycle of birth and death, moving through different species, different planets, and so on. Let us continue from today. Or anyone have any quick questions, comment meanwhile to start with? Feel free. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let us see text 32 onwards then. दुःखेष्व एकतरणे रणे नापि दैवभूतात्महे हेतुषु जीवस्य न व्यच्छेद स्याच्चेत् तत्तत् प्रतिक्रिया. It's Kishori Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. The living entities are trying to counteract different miserable conditions pertaining to providence. Other living entities are the body and mind. Still, they must remain conditioned by the laws of nature, despite all attempts to counter these laws. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So one, we are in material world, and we are being, uh, working under the guidance of or under the attachment of 3 modes. There is no way, to get out. Let's see. Just as a dog wanders here and there for a piece of bread or punishment, the living entity perpetually wanders about trying to be happy and planning in so many ways to counteract material miseries. This is called the struggle for existence. We can actually see in our daily life how we are forced to make plans to drive away miserable conditions. To get rid of one miserable condition, we have to put ourselves in another kind of miserable conditions. A poor man suffers for want of money, but if he wants to become rich, he has to struggle in so many ways. Actually, that is not a valid contracting process, but a snare of the illusory energy. If one does not endeavor to counteract his situation but is satisfied with his position, knowing that he has obtained his position through past activities, he can instead engage his energy to develop Krishna consciousness. This is recommended in all Vedic literature. Tasyaiva heto prayateta kovido na labhyate ya brahmatmana uparya adha तल्लभयते दुःखात्वात् अन्यथा सुखम कालेन सर्वत्र गभीरा ramasa. Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful and which is not obtainable even by wandering from topmost planets down to the lowest planet, Patala. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time. Just as in course of time we obtain miseries, even though we do not desire them. Yeah, beautiful point. Because no one desires miseries, but it comes by its accord. So in a similar way, happiness will also come. Bhagavatam 1.5.18. One should simply try to develop his Krishna consciousness and not waste his time trying to improve his material condition. Actually, the material condition cannot be improved. The process of improvement means accepting another miserable condition. However, if we endeavor to improve our Krishna consciousness, the distresses of material life will disappear without extraneous endeavor. Krishna therefore promises Kaunteya Pratijanihi Name Bhakta Pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Bhagavad Gita 9:31. One who takes to the path of devotional service will never be vanquished. Despite all miseries of the body and mind, and despite all miseries brought about by other living entities and providence, miseries which are beyond our control. Yeah. 33. Yatha hi purusho bharam sirasa gurum udbhavam tam skandhena sa adhate tatha sarva pratikriya. Sthal Mataji.
Hare Krishna. A man carry a burden on his head, and when he feels it to be too heavy, he sometimes gives relief to his head by putting the burden on his shoulder. In this way, he tries to relieve himself of the burden. However, whatever process he devises to counteract the burden does nothing more than put the same burden from one place to another. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, beautiful verse actually, isn't it? Let us see what Prabhupada writes. There's a story Prabhupada used to give. Let's see if there's no purport, otherwise I'll share it. So this is a good description of an attempt to transfer a burden from one place to another. When one gets tired of keeping a burden on his head, he will place it on his shoulder. This does not mean that he has become freed from the strains of carrying the burden. Similarly, human society, in this name of civilization, is creating one kind of trouble to avoid another kind of trouble. In contemporary civilization, we see that there are many automobiles manufactured to carry us swiftly from one place to another, but at the same time, we have created other problems. We have to construct so many roads, and yet these roads are insufficient to cope with automobile congestion and traffic jams. There are also the problems of air pollution and fuel shortage. The conclusion is that the processes we manufacture to counteract or minimize our distress do not actually put an end to our pains. It is all simply illusion. We simply place the burden from the head to the shoulder. The only real way we can minimize our problem is to surrender unto Supreme Personality of Godhead and give ourselves up to His protection. The Lord, being all powerful, can make arrangements to mitigate our painful life in material existence. I think beautiful examples Prabhupada gave, but if you see, I think it was in recently in there was some water problem in London area. I can't exactly recall which area, but in our one of our meeting we heard in the company that there are some problems for water in London, and because of AI they are putting more data centers, and that required water for cooling down those stops, the factories, and because of that there was some water problem. So we are creating something better, but at the same time we cannot not actually putting an end to other brains, so something else is arising. So Prabhupada is to give an example of saying that once a lady, in the same context, once a lady, an old lady, earlier days they used to bring or cut the trees, branches from the or some wood from the forest and come to the village to sell it out, and that's how they used to keep their living as well. So once a old lady, she was bring having some good amount of log of wood on her shoulder, and was passing by in the forest, and she was a bit tired, and suddenly she put the log of wood on the ground, and there has to happen a king passing by, and the king asks, "Oh mother, you seems to be in distress, how can I help you?" And the old lady says, "Oh, thank you for coming and asking for service. Could you please help me, put the log back into my another shoulder?" So earlier, just imagine she was having the log of wood on her left shoulder. Now she's asking king to put that log of wood on the right shoulder. Just to give me a second, something happened to my system. 1 second. Can you see my screen now again? Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So the story goes like the lady, the old lady, she asked, "Can you put the log of wood on my other shoulder? Because I was carrying those in the left side is in pain now." And Prabhupada says the problem is that the old lady, when the king said, "Oh dear mother, how can I help you?" The old lady could have said, "Oh, you're calling me a mother, and you seems to be a king. Could you take me to the palace and let me live there?" So basically, if the old lady could have asked king to fulfill the desire of her being taken to the palace, and as she could have been lived nicely, she doesn't have to go again to the forest to bring those log of oats and sell out and things, right? So she could be much peaceful, but she desired. King said, "How can I help you? What desire can I fulfill of yours?" But she asked, "Just put the logs from one side to other side." That's what this verse is actually. You say we are. Sorry, I think that is 30. 4, 33. That's what it is. We are taking the bhar, we are taking the burden from one shoulder to other, right? And that is not the real way to. We are creating, like Prabhupada here says, we simply place the burden from the head to the shoulder. So taking burden from here to here, it's not solving the problem into it, right? And then the real way is to minimize our problems is by taking shelter of Krishna. Yeah. Okay, text 34. नैकान्तत प्रतीकार कर्मणा कर्म केवलम दव्यम है अविधीयोपस्त्रम स्वप्ने स्वप्न इवा नघ. तमिल शैली माता जी.
Narada continued, "Oh, you who are free from all sinful activity, no one can counteract the effects of fruitive activity simply by manufacturing a different activity devoid of Krishna consciousness. All such activity is due to our ignorance. When we have a troublesome dream, we cannot relieve it with the troublesome hallucination. One can counteract a dream only by awaking. Similarly, our material existence is due to our ignorance and illusion. Unless we awaken to Krishna consciousness, we cannot be relieved of such dreams. For the ultimate solution to all problems, we must awaken to Krishna consciousness."
Yeah, so from now onwards, Narad Muni is giving a solution. Till now, he was creating he was saying that how the jiva has been entrapped in different species, different planets, and so on. And there is no escape for material by any material means. But now he's saying that how can someone be free from material bondage? He says, last line he says, for the ultimate solution to all problems, we must awaken to Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Solution to all problems is awakening Krishna consciousness. So there are two kinds of fruit activities. We can place the burden on the head or we can place it on the shoulder. Actually, keeping the burden in either place is the same. The transferal, however, is taking place under the name of counteraction. In this connection, Prahlad Maharaj said that fools and rascals in the material world plan so gorgeously for bodily comfort without knowing that such arrangements, even if successful, are only Maya. People working hard day and night for illusory happiness of the body. This is not a way how to achieve happiness. One has to get out of this material entanglement and return home back to Godhead. That is real happiness. The Vedas therefore enjoins, don't remain in the darkness of this material world. Go to the light of the spiritual world. To counteract the distress of this material body, one has to take on another distress condition. But situations are illusions. illusions. There is no gain in taking on one trouble to counteract another trouble. The conclusion is that one cannot be perpetually happy as long as one exists in this material world. Wow. The only remedy is to get out of this material world altogether and return home back to Godhead. Artheya avidyamanopi samstritirna nivartate manasalinga rupena स्वप्ने विचरतो यथा. Kushari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Sometimes we suffer because we see a tiger in a dream or a snake in a vision. But actually, there is neither a tiger nor a snake. Thus, we create some situation in a subtle form and suffer the consequences. These sufferings cannot be mitigated unless we are awakened from our dream. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. You'll have to wake up not in the dream. You'll be in the dreaming, nothing get mitigated. As stated in the Vedas, the living entity is always separate from two kinds of material bodies, the subtle and the gross. All our sufferings are due to these material bodies. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 2:14. Matra sparshas tu kaunteya shitosna sukha dukkada agama payo nityastam tithiksha bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance is in due course, are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, ocean of Bharata, and one who must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Lord Krishna thus informed Arjuna that all the distresses brought about by the body come and go. One has to learn how to tolerate them. Material existence is the cause of all our sufferings, for we do not suffer once we are out of the material condition. The Vedas therefore enjoin that one should factually understand that he is not material but is actually Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. This understanding cannot be fully realized unless one is engaged in Brahman activities, namely devotional service. To get free from material conditions, one has to take Krishna consciousness. That is the only remedy. I think Prabhupada from last three reports, he's bang on again and again that one has to take to Krishna consciousness. There is no other way. This is the only remedy. Yeah, and I think we are very glad that that we are trying to be in Krishna consciousness. By Prabhupada's mercy, that everything is there. He's given us everything. It's up to us now to take it seriously. I could recall once, I think it's long back, way long, I think somewhere around 2017 or 18, there was a retreat in Karuna Bhavan, and His Grace Kripa Mahaprabhu was there, and he was giving a small talk to us. It's always remains clear in my mind. Now he was saying about the importance of chanting the holy name. He was saying that once he was walking in a walk, and he suddenly thought, what happens, if I die right now? If I die right now, am I chanting the holy name properly to go back to Godhead? So he was saying that we don't know when this body will be taken away. So we should be serious about chanting the holy name, so that even if death comes right at this moment, we have no regret that I've been I could get some more month. I will chant attentive rounds. No, we are not Ajamils. We might not be given 12 more years. We are not Prahlad Maharaj. We might not get those 7 days extra. It could be at any moment. But yes, if we can make an endeavor to chant the holy name nicely, at least, I'm speaking to myself, we can make endeavor to chant the holy name nicely. Krishna is going to protect us. Krishna is going to give us the remembrance of him at our last moment. Yeah. So Prabhupada is bang on again and again that, how can we stop this cycle of birth and death? How can we awaken Krishna consciousness? There is no other way. And there is no other way, no other solutions. Only way is the Krishna consciousness. Athatmanortha bhutasya yato nartha parampara samsritistad vevochedo bhaktya paramaya guru वासुदेवे भगवती भक्ति योग संहिता समाहिता सदृशीनेन वैराग्यं ज्ञानं च जनयिष्यति. Istel Mataji.
Hare Krishna. The real interest of the living entity is to get out of the nescience that causes him to endure repeated birth and death. The only remedy is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his representative. Unless one renders devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, one cannot possibly become completely detached from the material world, nor can he possibly manifest real knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Beautiful, beautiful. Directly from verse itself, right? Directly from verse. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Samahita. Okay, this is the way to become detached from the artificial material condition. The only remedy is to take Krishna consciousness and constantly engage in devotional service to the Lord Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone is trying to be happy, and the process adopted to achieve that happiness is called self-interest. Unfortunately, the conditioned soul hovering within this material world does not know that his ultimate goal of self-interest is Vasudeva. Samsriti, or material existence, begins with the illusioned bodily conception of life, and on the basis of this conception, there ensues a series of unwanted things, anarthas. These unwanted things are actually mental desires for various types of sense gratification. In this way, one accepts different types of bodies within this material world. One first has to control the mind so that the desires of mind can be purified. This process is described in the Narada Pancharatra as Sarva Upadi Vinirmuktam Tat Tat Pravartena Nirmalam. Unless one purifies his mind, there is no question of getting free from the material condition. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 176, Anarthopasamam Sakshat Bhakti Yogam Adhokshaje Lokasya Janato Vidvams Chakre Satvata Samhitam. I think this is the. Okay, let's read out. The material miseries of this living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasudeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the Supreme Lord. That is basically Srimad Bhagavatam. Anarthas, unwanted things, come down from one bodily life to another. To get out of this entanglement, one has to take to the devotional service of the Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word Guru is significant in this connection. The word Guru may be translated as a heavy or the supreme. In other words, the Guru is a spiritual master. Srila Rishabhadev advised his son, Guru na sasyat, swajano na sasyat, like that verse goes, na mochayetya samupeta mrityum. This is a very beautiful verse actually. Whole verse, Rishabhadev says one should not become father, one should not become mother, one should not become a guru, and like that, no? Even Devatas, he says, one should not take up to the post of spiritual master unless he is able to lead his disciples from the cycle of birth and death. I think Prabhupada just summarized one line of that whole verse. If you read it, let's see. Oh. Okay, let's see that here only. If you see this verse, it says, One who cannot deliver his dependents from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipful demigod. So basically, everyone is supposed to, the way to deliver their near ones and dear ones. Material existence is actually a chain of action and reactions brought about by different types of food activities. This is the cause of birth and death. One can stop this process only by engaging oneself in the service of Vasudeva. Bhakti refers to those activities performed in the service of the Lord Vasudeva. Because Lord Vasudeva is the supreme, one should engage oneself in his service, not in the service of the demigods. Devotional service begins from the neophyte stage, the stage of observing the rules and regulations, and extend to the point of spontaneous loving service to the Lord. The purpose of all stages is to satisfy Lord Vasudeva. When one is perfectly advanced in the devotional service of Vasudeva, one becomes completely detached from the service of the body, that is his designated position in material existence. After becoming so detached, one becomes actually perfect in knowledge and engages perfectly in the service of the Lord Vasudeva. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Jivera Swarupa hai Krishnera Nityadas. Every living entity is by constitutional position an eternal servant of Krishna. As soon as one engages in the service of the Lord Vasudeva, he attains his normal constitutional position. This position is called the liberated stage. Muktir hitvanatha rupam sarupena vyavasthitihi. In the liberated stage, one is situated in his original Krishna conscious position. He gives up all engagement in the service of matter, engagement concocted under the names of social service, national service, community service, dog service, automobile service, and so many other services, conducted under the illusion of I and mine, as explained in the second chapter of the first canto. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayatya Sujvairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahetukam. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Thus, one must engage in the service of Vasudeva without material desire, material speculations, or food activities. Long purport, right? Because they are very, very important. Prabhupada wanted to make us very clear that how and why Krishna consciousness is so important. Sochirad eva rajarse syad achyuta kathaashrayah shunvatah shraddhaya dhanasya nityada syad aviyatat. Tamil Sili Mataji?
O best of kings, one who is faithful, who is always hearing the glories of Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always engaged in the culture of Krishna consciousness, and in hearing of Lord's activities, very soon he becomes eligible to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face.
So faithfully hearing the glory of Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? Constant engagement in the transcendental loving service of Vasudeva means constantly hearing the glories of the Lord. The principles of Bhakti Yoga is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dashyam, Shakyam, Atmanivedanam are the only means by which perfections can be attained. Simply by hearing of the glories of the Lord, one is elevated to the transcendental position. Jai. Text 39 to 40. Yatra Bhagavata Rajan Sadhavo Visada Shaya भगवद्गुणानुकथनं श्रवणं व्यग्रचित्तसा तस्मिन् महन्मुखारित मधुरविचरित्र तेषु शेषसरितः परित्यक् श्रवन्ति ताये पिबन्ति अवष्टिस् नृपगधा कर्णेश तान्न स्पृशन्ते अशना हृद्भयशोकमोहा. My dear king, Kushari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. My dear king, in the place where pure devotees live, following the rules and regulations and thus purely conscious and engaged with great eagerness in hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In that place, if one gets a chance to hear their constant flow of nectar, which is exactly like the waves of a river, one will forget the necessities of life, namely hunger and thirst, and become immune to all kinds of fear, lamentation, and illusion. Hare Krishna.
Wow. The cultivation of Krishna consciousness is possible where great devotees live together and constantly engage in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. In a holy place like Vrindavan, there are many devotees constantly engaged in chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord. If one gets the chance to hear from the pure devotees in such a place, allowing the constant flow of the river of nectar to come from the mouths of pure devotees, then the cultivation of Krishna consciousness becomes very easy. When one is engaged in constantly hearing the glories of the Lord, he certainly rises above the bodily conception. When one is in the bodily conception, he feels the pangs of hunger and thirst, fear, lamentation, and illusion. But when one is engaged in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, he transcends the bodily conception. The word Bhagavata Gunanukathana Shravana Vyagrachetasa means always eager to find the place where the glories of the Lord are being heard and chanted is significant in this verse. A businessman is always very eager to go to a place where business is transacted. Yeah. Similarly, a devotee is very eager to hear from the lips of a liberated devotees. As soon as one hears the glories of the Lord from the liberated devotees, he immediately becomes impregnated with Krishna consciousness. This is also confirmed in another verse. Satam prasangam mama briya samvido bhavanti hrit karna rasayano katham tajjoshanad ashwa apavarga vartamani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishati. This actually Canto 3. Yeah, Prabhupada's quoting here 3:25. In the association of the pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and to the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and therefore he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. The real devotion and devotional service begin. Bhagavatam 25:25. Bhagavatam 3:25-25. In the association of pure devotees, one becomes attached to the hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. In this way, one can cultivate Krishna consciousness, and as soon as this cultivation is advanced, one can become faithful to the Lord, devoted to the Lord, and attached to the Lord, and thus one can very quickly attain full Krishna consciousness. The secret of success in the cultivation of Krishna consciousness is hearing from the right person. A Krishna conscious person is never disturbed by the bodily necessities, namely eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Jai. Hare Krishna. Any quick questions, comments? Else we will continue next week from text number 41. Hare Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for your wonderful class and devotees.
Hare Krishna.